I never had any problem. Alrighty. Hi, Steve. Okay, so we're doing an oral history of Garden Valley and Crouch area. We're targeting from the 1930s through the 21st century. And we're guessing that maybe you were closer into the 40s, 50s of the history that you could fill us in on. And you're Steve Valley.
Yep.
What's your middle name?
Sterling.
Oh, of course. Yeah, definitely. Steve Sterling Valley. That's a nice handle. Okay, so why don't you start out telling us a little bit about yourself, and then I'll some basics, and I'll ask you a couple.
I'm just an old country boy that I've done a little bit of everything. I've logged and run cat and felled trees for 28 years. I was a logger, so.
And you were born here in Garden Valley?
I was born here in Garden Valley. As far as I know, I'm the last native, or whatever you want to call it, person left.
Born and raised?
Yep.
All right. And did you spend any time outside of Garden Valley?
Oh, I spent a lot of time outside, but I never changed the address. I worked in Oregon, and I worked a little bit in Washington and whatnot, but I'd always come home on the weekends or made everything, because my dad was a farming and ranching, and I had to help Dad on the weekends.
And you're the oldest?
Yep.
Of your siblings?
Yep, I'm the oldest of them.
I thought we're talking.
Got one foot in the grave and another on a banana peeling.
Yeah. Okay, so mostly your work was farming and logging.
Yep.
Things changed a lot in both of those areas?
I've got farming and ranching, and then I drove cows to Bear Valley for 21 years over Scott Mountain.
Drove them in a truck?
Nope.
I didn't think so.
They all walked all the way to Bear Valley, and we walked in and out of Bear Valley.
Anyway, like twice a day, you'd walk them back?
Yeah, you walked them in, and they spent the summer in Bear Valley, and then you walked them back out.
And when did that happen?
Well, I'm trying to think the other night. I think it ended in about 75, 70s, in the 70s. Our illustrious government decided they didn't need cows in Bear Valley.
Oh.
And they've been in there for 100 years. And
yeah, well, life's about change.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, so when you were farming up here, you grew hay?
We grew hay and grain, and we fed most of it. We'd sell some wheat and some barley. We'd sell down to Emmett, load it in the pickup and haul it to Emmett.
And animals?
We had, bad as I hate to say it, we had some sheep. I gathered sheep when I was a kid in Wash Creek, and the ones that they lost, and my mother had a little band of sheep, and we had cows mainly.
You raised them for food, milk?
No, we raised them and sold the calves, and we always raised one to eat.
Of course. So when I went driving with you showed me all different areas where you used to grow hay. And how did that work? Was that your land or just rotating crops?
No, it was just Harry Yorn. When Harry was here, why I've helped Harry farm for a lot of years, and ever since I was 9 or 10 years old, I helped Harry farm, and then we just grew hay for the cows. We drive them old cows from Horseshoe Bend up here and drive them back, and they never knew what a truck was. They didn't know what a ride was. They walked all the time.
Yeah, times have changed some things.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see if I have questions. So, your earliest memory, that's the question of Garden Valley.
Well, we lived up Alder Creek, about 7 miles up Alder Creek. I started this school right up the Middle Fork, right square where George Day's house is or whatever. The schoolhouse used to sit right there. And I started this school when I lived up it isn't the very last house on the river going up. Now there's one more above there. And I started school in 1 week, and then we moved to that place in Alder Creek.
And the school became too far away, or?
No, they tore that school. They moved that school over to here. But the school that is in Holman right now, the little schoolhouse, I went to school in it for first 4 years of my life, and then they moved the other school, and we went to school in it till it burned down, and then went to school in the back of the community hall, where the stage is and stuff. In the community hall, there used to be a room back there. They called it the dining room. And when they had dances every 2 weeks through the winter, all the ladies brought sandwiches and everything. And we had about 1 o'clock or so, everybody had big sandwiches and stuff. And all us kids used to carry blankets and stuff, and we'd all roll up and roll underneath the benches. There was a couple of benches down here where they used to be, and we'd all roll underneath the benches. And then about 4 o'clock in the morning, my dad would pack us out and put us in the vehicle, and we'd go back up Alder Creek. And there used to be a really bad mud hole. And before Dad would leave, he'd always put a harness on the old yellow horse. And then when we'd drive as far as we could drive in that old Jeep pickup, and they'd get stuck, he'd jump out and go home, get old Duke and bring him back and hook him on the front of it. And away we'd go up the road.
Now, before you had much electricity out.
We never had electricity at all until I was 13 years old. And the last, about 6-8 months we lived up Alder Creek. Where they run electricity in there, and then we moved out. So.
Of course.
It's kind of hard to explain to people where we lived on Long Creek. It's the very last cabin up Alder Creek now. My dad built that cabin in 51, 52, somewhere in there. Yeah. The sawmill used to sit right up around the corner. And all the rest of these kids would be down there swimming and going around in the summertime. And I was at home, and my dad would come over. He'd get up and go skid logs and stand them on the end of the road, and then he'd the old yellow horse, and then he'd stand them up on the end in the road, and then it was my job to skid them to the sawmill the rest of the time. No, I had that team of horses, and but it was all. I've been teamstering since I wasn't very big, because yay high. I used to be so mad at my dad because the rest of the kids was all running and playing and having fun, and my dad I was up there skidding logs, and I wasn't big enough to run the peavey to roll into that little old pond he had, so I'd get about 4 or 5 logs skidded up, and then he'd come up and roll them into the pond.
And from
What's that?
the pond is part of the sawmill.
Yeah, it was a mill pond. Yeah.
And there were a lot of sawmills in this area.
There was 5 sawmills in this area.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, there was the Portable and Chambers and Dad's, and I don't know, there's all scattered all the roll arcs out of the sawmill up on Lightning Creek. And Dad skidded logs up Lightning Creek and skidded logs across the river with a team of horses to the sawmill. As you go across the bridge at Lightning Creek, you look at that hillside up there, and Dad's horse skidded all of that.
And what did now there's hardly any logging left.
Yeah.
When did that?
Well, it started changing in about, well, I cut logs for 28 years. And the last year I cut logs, they were cutting way back. So I decided I'd go to work for the county. I'd worked for the county from the time I was in high school. And Merle Carpenter come over and got me out of bed at 3 o'clock in the morning and said, "Steve, come on, I need you." And I went to work for the county, and I decided I'd just stay for the county, and I stayed until another guy took over the reins for the whole county, and I said, I didn't care much for him, so I said, nope. So I went back to cutting logs for 2 more years.
Okay, and so your rodeo competition, do you have any background in that?
Oh, yeah. But I team roped and quite a little bit all around the country. And I team roped with a guy from Emmett, and then I team roped with my son, and then I was Homedale, and then I picked up rodeos for lots and lots of years for Stevens Brothers.
And your whole family has a background with this.
My sister is a world champion. And
Bareback Broncos?
yep, riding bareback horses.
That's very cool.
I was 12 years old. I was about 14. And nobody knows where it's at now, but where Fackrell's automotive shop is, you went down on, and the river makes a big bend in there. And my dad built Dad and Buzz and Oscar and a bunch of them built an arena down there right in that bend. And there was an arena down there for years and years. And it was high school, I roped down there when I was in high school, practiced calf roping in the spring. And that river, them kids would get out once in a while and swim across the river. I had an old gray horse, and I swam him across, and the funny part of it was I told my dad, I said, "Oh, he swims real high." It was right above Crouch, and we had to take a wire across the river for fence the river. I said, "My horse swims real high, I'll take it across." And that old horse run across this, his nose sticking up, and the water covered my neck. And Dad said, "Oh, yeah, he swims real high."
Yeah. Now the next question is, what's your best, happiest memory there?
I really couldn't tell you on that. I've had a lot of damn good memories, and everything's been real good. So probably going to Bear Valley was one of the happiest of them, because we was horseback and gathering cows, and I used to think it was awful tough, but it was very, very good.
Yeah, sounds like when you were at your best, right?
Yeah.
Okay, how about the worst or the most tragic?
Oh, I couldn't.
There were a lot of those too.
Yeah, a lot of them too, but I can't really think of too many except on that log rolled over me and smashed me.
That counts.
Just like rolling pin over a cookie dough.
Really?
Flattened you right out.
Yeah, and you were hospitalized.
Yep, for 33 days.
Okay, did you have any lasting effects from that accident?
No, not really. A little once in a while now, that old age creeps up on you.
Sure. You lose sight of any big equipment?
Oh yeah, never had any bad wrecks with the big equipment, but I skidded logs with a 6 and a 7 and top Charters Mountain. Nobody realizes it because you can't see it from here, but you could have let the biggest airplane in the world right on top of Charters Mountain. Because we cleared it.
Oh.
That was the first D14 cat I ever seen.
Wow. No kidding. Are you kidding?
Well, it really wasn't a D14, it was 2 D7s.
Fair enough.
I tell everybody it was a D14 because Carlock had a pretty new 7. It had rippers on the back of it, and I was running an old 7, and he'd walk up to a tree and put his blade against it, and then I'd run up behind him, put my blade on his rippers, and we'd push all the trees over.
That's some sense.
Yeah, but I fought fire on top of that hill. You can't, there's no sign of it, no tracks or nothing, but as you're coming up, where them pilings are in the river down there in Banks, if you look, when you come around that corner and you look up that hillside right there, why, I took that cat and walked right up that hill, right up from we were logging down to Banks, and we walked that cat over the top. We had another Tom Holcomb and I, and we walked them 7 and that 6 over the top of the hill and fought fire on top of Charters Mountain. And I went right straight up that old 7 that'd go, about the length of this room, about 20 feet, 30 feet, and then have to power out, and you'd have to clutch her and go again. That's how we went over the top of that.
Pioneering. Okay. Now they're asking about funniest, in that way, funniest memory. Somebody or something.
Oh, there's been a lot of them, but I really couldn't put a pinpoint on any one of them. There's been lots and lots of them, and I'm kind of a jokester anyhow, so
Okay.
I'm a little bit bad about pulling tricks on people.
Okay. Well, then I'll keep an eye out. How about hunting?
I
Sure do much of that?
I cougar hunted for lots and lots of years in the winter time, and I guess maybe I shouldn't say it, but I've had 320 cougars taken over the top of my dogs.
What do you mean taking over?
Shot out over the top of my dogs when I was cougar hunting. I didn't shoot them. I didn't shoot it that many, but I had a lot of people go with me and want a cougar and whatnot.
There's no shame in that. So what would you do with
I sold in the wintertime when you're on unemployment. Why, anything helps, any dollar helps add to it a little bit, buy groceries for the family and stuff, and I sold them for $50 a piece, them cougar hides.
So that explains the population.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
right. Well, but as the area has grown, how do you feel about that?
Wow.
Growth versus change.
The growth is I don't know, I can't say it's bad because it's growing everywhere, but the thing that bothers me the most is people trying to make it like where they came from before.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
These giant houses that look like they're plucked right out.
Yeah. Yep.
Like that.
Yep. I just don't care for that part of it.
I understand. I don't either. Right there with
I tell everybody I'm glad that I'm as old as I am, so I don't have to watch too much more of it.
Right. Yeah. Anything else you want people to know about the history of the place, or to try and preserve it?
Well, I don't know how to explain it, but the old cemetery, the old Pioneer Cemetery over here, I think our last ones that were buried over there. But they just, I don't know, they don't seem to care about the older people. The old.
The new people.
Yeah,
Well, that's part of why we're doing it.
Yeah.
To educate people and get them to care and to preserve in some way.
But that old cemetery, my dad helped dig a grave for Art Scriber. He died long before old Fitz did, and Dad said that was I don't know why they picked that for a place for a cemetery, because it's all rock.
Wow. Okay. Anything else we should know? I mean, there's a lot of things we should know, but that you'd like to contribute.
I couldn't tell you that right now.
No.
There's a lot of things in that I have stored around in the back of my head that I don't even think about till I do it and something pops out.
How about any mining?
The mining, there used to be a lot of mining. That's how my dad came here in 1938. Because you don't even know it now, but up there, right where I was born, there used to be a mine up above, and Dad come up here with a team of horses and skidded mine timbers and hauled ore down, and the mill is gone. I looked at it the other day, looked real close, and you can't see anything of it.
Well, that was on that side of the river.
Yeah, it's on the other side of the river up there, and I think it's Black Bear Creek, right where Black Bear Creek comes into the river. And people nowadays would have a fit if they knew what they did, but all of that, right where that mine set, or that mill set, they washed all of the tailings and that kind of stuff down the river.
That'd be frowned upon.
Yeah.
Things were a lot looser back then.
Yeah. What's that?
I said things seemed a lot looser back then.
Yep. Yeah.
So overall, you had a great life here.
Yep.
Dancing and farming and running cows.
Yep.
Logging. And how about your love life?
Well, I was married to the same woman for 41 years.
Oh, she was tough.
And then she just decided she had to move on, so.
Lifestyle change.
Yep. And so, anyway, she moved on, and now she's up to Grangeville now.
Well, she missed out.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you think of other things, or you have pictures or noteworthy events on the town and how it's changed, like the position of the post office, for instance, or something like that.
What people do not understand and won't probably understand, the house that's right over there, I don't know what it is now, right straight across from the joint. To me, it's still a joint, the Longhorn, Two Rivers, whatever. That house right there, right in the end of that, used to be the post office.
Oh, okay.
Right in the end of that was the post office. There was another little building just above there, a little kind of a shack, and my cousin lived in it. Was the last person that lived in it. But Mrs. Webb, at that time, there was a post office in Garden Valley and one was in Crouch. There were two post offices. The Garden Valley post office was in the back of the store. The old, the Garden Valley, whatever you want to call it, it's in Garden Valley anyhow, the store that's right there. If you look at that when you drive in, there's a roof, an A-frame roof sticking out of the back of that store. Is the original Garden Valley store.
That's at the market now?
Yep.
Really?
That's right in the back, and it's just a A-shape. But it used to set up closer to the highway. The highway is the road is primarily in where it has always been. And another thing that people don't understand or don't know is the place that is right below the Catholic Church, that house that's right there where you go to. That is the old Garden Valley Ranger house. That was set over to the ranger station. I think old Jack Cusick was the last one that lived in that house, and Jimmy Tucker bought it and moved it.
So where it is. Okay. And this school. I know they're doing a lot of work on the school building. It looks great. But where was that prior to Spokane?
Well, the school, this is the third school that they've had. Where the school is now, that was up on top of the hill there, on the bottom where that, going up Anderson Creek anyhow, that was the schoolhouse there. That was the schoolhouse, and then the one up on top of the hill was the schoolhouse. We never had a gymnasium. We played all our basketball and stuff in the community hall over here. If you can always tell, there's not too many of us left, but you can always tell if any of us would shoot a basketball before we went to school. Because the long shot was from here to that table. Because you couldn't shoot, because if you shot at any distance, you hit the ceiling.
Well, I guess for probably about the 1 foot town.
That was the 1 foot wide town is Banks 2 down there, nothing there but a big wide spot now. When the flood come down and took them, it's hard to believe that much dirt come down that hill, but it pushed that buildings and stuff over into the river where that Banks 2 is. And but they wanted a liquor license, and the only way they could get a liquor license was they made the city of Crouch or whatever went clear to there, 1 foot wide right down the road, clear to Banks. And that's where the 1 foot town come from.
I had those.
Yep.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not familiar with our business.
No, I'm just me, and that's
No, only you can do that.
how many kids do I have? 2. A boy and a girl, Jerry, and then Judy's still. But Jerry's he's in Phoenix right now. Or not in Phoenix, Tonopah. He's does a little bit of everything. He was here for years. He cut logs with me for several years, and then when he got out of high school, and then he's set chokers and logged and whatnot. But I probably, wouldn't be around if it wasn't for my daughter and my granddaughter. When that horse rolled over the top of me and broke my head, and I have a horse track in the top of my head right now. And I laid out on the hill for 12 to 18 hours. Nobody knows, 'cause they didn't find me till the next morning. And so my horse went home, and my daughter Judy was living with me down in Montour, and the horse went back, and she come in. There was that horse standing there with the saddle on. So anyhow, she called my nephew, and he got a whole bunch of people, and they rode all over, and they couldn't find me. And I had a little Jack Russell Terrier, white terrier, and she was with me that day. And Judy said, called Todd up, and she said, "Dad, that little Jack Russell's with Dad." And Todd just happened to look, and she wasn't barking or anything, but she was trotting back and forth across the hill on the other side of the draw on Rock Creek. And anyway, Todd said he looked up and seen her, and about that time she disappeared, and he rode over there horseback, and he said, "Have you ever tried to walk into a bed of needles?" My grandson Randy was up there, and he was 12, 13 years old, something like that. And Randy got a hold of Gracie, but he said she is so damn strong that it was unreal. And when they flew me out of there, they let right above me and packed me out of there. It was so steep they couldn't stay on I was having trouble on the stretcher. And I said, "Tie my damn feet to that stretcher." And so they tied it on and put me in the helicopter, and they packed me all over. And they lit on top of St. Al's up there. And I spent 33 days in that thing.
Now, your dad, Sterling, he came here in 1938,
Yep.
and you own quite a bit of property up here. Right? I know I lost it.
Well, Dad bought the place over here on Anderson Creek in 57, I think. We had that place up Alder Creek, and then we moved down to there is no house or anything left, but just across the South Fork Bridge, there used to be a big house there, and then there was barns and houses and stuff. And now there's a house out on the rock pile out there. But
It's South Fork Bridge.
the one going towards Placerville,
Oh, okay.
just across there, there's a big house right there. All of that we farmed all of that down through all them houses are. And so, but they built that, not the bridge that's there now. That's the third bridge that they built in there. And they pulled the bridge from Banks that used to be across the highway at Banks, and that they pulled it up and they put it across the South Fork over there. And mother boarded and cooked for all of them guys while they was there. And there used to be a footbridge. They had a footbridge across right there on the rock point, just to the lower side of that where the bridge is now. And they pulled that across there, put that across there, and Dad and I, we led them across the first couple of times, but we used to take our horses across that footbridge. And then we started riding across. So, yeah. Yarns, and then over here, the highway goes right through where Rob Mills's house used to sit. The highway sits right where Rob Mills's house. If you take the shortcut road, whatever you want to call it, that house that's right, that red house that's over there. But right there, just right there, is where Rob Mills's house used to sit. The old road, and you can see it yet if you look. It used to come up and come right below that house that's Mel lives there. And right there, and went right around and then back up and across the big ditch and went over against the bank and then went right above where, anyway, Mills's house is, the old house that's above, the one right above that. And went straight across there.
So you got the yarn, the mills, the alleys, of course.
Well, Dad come here in 38 and whatnot, but Dad said it took him quite a few years to become an old timer. Yeah.
Yeah, that counts. Now there were right at Terrace Lakes, where you go left to Terrace Lakes.
Rodemack place.
The Rodemack place.
Yeah, the Rodemack. Ira Rodemack was ended up teaching me. He was a superintendent over here at school for a while, for the last few years. But he was an old farmer and whatnot. But he farmed all that country, and they used to milk cows right there. And Mrs. Rodemack was old enough that the Indians were still going through when she was a young lady. And whenever the Indians had come through, her folks would make her and her sister, I don't know what it was, but make them go to the barn and crawl under the hay.
Wow. That was something. I love the house.
But the old barn has been there forever, and they tell me they're going to tear it and the house down. So.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah.
I hope I get to see it before.
Yeah.
Okay, and then in 38, could have been very well populated.
No. Well, I don't know how to explain it, because people laugh at me when I tell them that. But the population of Garden Valley was about the same in the 50s and early 60s as it is now, because of all the loggers and the lumber people and stuff. They just lived in different places, and they weren't on scattered out like they are now. They were a tighter group right on Easley Creek, where Terrace Lake Village is up there. That was the old Chambers place. And there used to be a sawmill right up the bottom there. Chambers had a sawmill right up that bottom. Right up there, you go across where that road comes over the top of the hill from Terrace Lakes. There was houses all the way up through there. And Grosvenor's built that barn, put that barn up, but all of that was hay fields and stuff. And Grosvenor's built that barn, and I cut hay on all that. The first swather I ever run was right up on side that hill. It just kind of scared me, because I went up there and was pulling up that hill, and about all it was pulling. And it had steering clutches. It didn't have a steering wheel. It had steering clutches, and I got up there and went turned around and pulled that steering clutch back, and that damn thing went backwards very, very fast and started looping like that. And I turned loose of it, and it kind of straightened itself right back up. But man,
Put fear in you.
yep. Because there was a drop off there where it went up that side of that hill about 20 feet into the road or whatever. Made me swallow pretty hard. That was the first swather I'd ever run. That's what. Yeah.
Yeah, 9 lives, Steve. You got 9 lives.
They're all used up.
Yeah, well, we appreciate your time and contributing to this effort. We'll let you know how it ends up and give that some kind of copy of it. If you think of anything else,